Hello YouTube and Patreon, this is Nathan P. Butler, and this is our project update for the month of February 2020. It's a little bit earlier in the month than it typically would be. It's the 22nd as I record this, but because of the way that my recording schedule winds up working out, where usually I can only record typically on a Saturday or Sunday, depending on my wife's work schedule, and the fact that it just so happens that this year, the 7th, 14th, 21st, and 28th of February are all on Fridays, this gives me kind of the one chance to record this before the month is actually over. So we're going to go ahead and dive into this. It's actually been pretty productive since the last time we did one of these videos. The last of these was released on January 27th. So it's been less at this point than, 4 weeks. It's been a little over 3 weeks, not all that much, kind of like 3.5, and it's been a very productive 3.5 weeks. Now, that's in part because I was able to record a lot of stuff on January 12th that just hadn't been edited by the time of the last of these monthly updates. And the same thing basically happened on the 26th, which I guess was the day I was able to record that last update. I got several more things done at the same time, but then the update, of course, took precedence on actually getting out. So at this point, there's still a few things for me to edit from recording on the 26th, or no, I take it back. The 26th is fine. I recorded some on February 15th, I think it was, that still needs to be edited. I am tending to do that a lot lately. Get a big old burst of recording in when I can, and then go through and edit it. Thankfully, most of the stuff is not time sensitive. That's going to change a little bit with what's coming with the Rise of Skywalker and Skywalker Saga and all of those other home video releases. I'm going to want to get episodes out on those as soon as they're actually in my hands, but I'm not 100% sure when that will be because most of them are things I'm having to have ordered online and sent through the mail, as opposed to being something where I just go out and get it. Having a teeny tiny baby, well, toddler now, and the work schedule my wife and I have does not make it easy to do any of these. Hey, I'm going to go run at midnight, as if anybody's going to actually have it out at midnight. Or I'm going to run at 8 in the morning and then 10 in the morning over here. There's probably only one place I'm actually going to have to physically go on the launch day, and that's Best Buy, to make sure I've got stuff sitting there as the ship to store. Anyway, so before we get into anything with what is new, let's check out our Patreons and pass along some thanks here. Again, if you're a supporter over on Patreon, that is patreon.com/NathanPButler, you get a chance to get thanked here in the show. Initially, the idea was to just have it in the credits, but I'm trying to make sure to always mention everybody's names out loud here as well. The Patreon thanks page in Saga on Home Video 2nd Edition is underway, so people get added to that as well for when that eventually gets published, hopefully later this year. And then we also, of course, have those higher tiers where you get access to the exclusive commentaries or the exclusive Q&A videos, depending on which tier you choose. So, we start out with the Travelers Through the Butler Universe, that $1 tier, basically getting the thanks and whatnot and showing some support. So those include Austin Pierce, Ben P. Stein, Martin Dahl, and S.W. Chris. We then have by far the largest group, so large I'm going to have to make sure to read here. We have Andrew Gilbertson, Bobby Craig, Chris Lewis, Daniel Marchant, Gary Sherwood, Jason Hunt, Jeff Ellis, Jeremiah Mustard, Joey Zitzman, Kyle Pellegrini, Robert Medina, Sam Howard, Stephen Malicia, say it right that time, Travis Taylor, and Walker Langstrat. And then, of course, the top tier, the folks who not only get the commentaries that the denizens get, but also those monthly exclusive Q&A videos, we have Aaron Melzak, Ennis, Andrew Bettis, Benjamin Handelman, Brian Snook, and Jonathan Comfer. So thank you to all of you, and let's see what's new since the last time we had one of these updates. Speaking of Patreon, we of course had new releases through Patreon. On February 1st, it was the commentary for the Clone Wars episode Monster, and on February 15th, the commentary for the Clone Wars episode Witches of the Mist. But in between those, we had the exclusive Q&A number 26 for the Nobility of the Butler Universe tier. That makes the next ones, by the way, in March. The first 2 episodes of commentary for the Mortis trilogy, and then the first one for April will be the end of that, and then April and May will be the Citadel arc. I've actually already recorded all the way through the end of the Citadel arc. I've got one more of those to edit and sort of get scheduled for publishing, so we're in good shape with that. Just about to end Season 3 of the Clone Wars in the recording, which is very, very nice. Speaking of the Clone Wars, by the way, there's been a lot of questions popping up and speculation as to whether or not, now that Clone Wars is back on television, if you want to call it that, on Disney Plus with Season 7, will there be a revival of Republic Forces Radio Network for us to talk about those episodes? And it's been kind of a weird question because Republic Forces Radio Network ended after Season 5 of the Clone Wars. we covered Season 6 not on Republic Forces Radio Network, but as sort of a lead-in set of episodes for our Rebels discussion podcast over at StarWarsReport.com, which was Rebels Roundtable. So, with Rebels Roundtable ending after 2 seasons because we didn't have the ability to coordinate well enough to continue on with 3 and 4, it was really becoming a difficult thing to pull off. It'd be kind of odd to pick up with that because that was really more Rebel stuff, and if we were going to continue, why wouldn't we just continue with Rebel stuff? But if we did it for Republic Forces, though Season 6 isn't in there anywhere. So it sort of raised that question of what would make sense. We also have the issue of, if it was Republic Forces, at least one member of the team we haven't heard from in a while, another member of the team and another person involved in the process have had a bit of a falling out. So never the twain shall meet as far as projects go, it would seem. So we got a few things kind of standing in the way, not least of which is the fact that we all have lives and stuff we're doing, and my time is extremely limited. As I've talked about plenty of times on here, actually getting a chance to record anything, let alone having to coordinate with someone else to record something, is next to impossible for me at this point. So, I don't know if there's going to be a revival of Republic Forces Radio Network. I'm assuming that if there is, it would be that. It wouldn't be through Rebels Roundtable. I don't know who would be involved. My guess is that I will not be, just because I don't know how in the hell I would ever coordinate to actually get that done. If it was by arc, it'd be, 3 episodes, which isn't too insane, but you've seen how difficult it is for Mark and I to get a chance to record, and that's just coordinating 2 of us. Or Michael and I, and that's just recording 2 of us, or coordinating 2 of us to record. So, I don't really see how I'm going to be able to pull off being able to participate. That said, I'm sure that once the Clone Wars season is over, at some point Mark and I will probably do an episode on it for Star Wars Beyond the Films, or at least include it in next year's Year in Review. And certainly, as the commentaries on Patreon continue to build, we are past the halfway mark of the Clone Wars if you don't count Season 7. I'm not sure where we are if we do count Season 7, I haven't done the math on it. But at this point, our next episode on March 1st will be the 60th Clone Wars commentary that I've released through Patreon. And it's going to continue going, right? And we're almost at the 70 mark if you start adding in the fact that those are recorded, and then I also have 3 more recorded, 2 of which are edited, none of which are actually scheduled yet, although I know when they're going to be. I just haven't uploaded them to Patreon to set the scheduling. The ones for the Citadel arc that I mentioned. So eventually, you will be able to hear my thoughts specifically on those new episodes. But it is very possible it'll be all together through Beyond the Films or individual episode commentaries on Patreon. Though, hey, for those who, haven't jumped on the Patreon bandwagon yet, this is probably a good time to do that if you are interested in it. Again, patreon.com/NathanPButler. If you do that $5 tier, you've got access to all of the commentaries released thus far, and any ones that are released as you are still in part of that tier. So if you jumped in right now, you would have basically 59 that you'd be able to go ahead and grab, plus 2 for Forces of Destiny. Or wait until after March 1st, and there's 60 of them, and so on. They're released on the 1st and the 15th of each month. So something to consider if you're going back and rewatching the Clone Wars now that Clone Wars Season 7 is out, if you want a bit of a different experience to have my audio commentary playing as you watch. Podcast-wise, we've got some good news. You may recall that as of the last of these, I had a chance to record with Mark for Star Wars Beyond the Films to start our year in review process with the episode on the books, but he had just lost his grandmother, and it kind of threw things into a bit of turmoil as he was dealing with all of that before being able to wrap up the last bit of production on the episode. I generally do the editing of the actual audio that was recorded. He goes in, adds the music and everything, and then actually posts the episode. Well, things finally calmed down, and on February 15th, he was able to put that episode up, so the beginning of our 2019 Year in Review is available now for Star Wars Beyond the Films. It is episode 245, which you can find at StarWarsReport.com. We're going to be recording the second one tomorrow, as of the time I'm recording this, but we've decided to flip the order of comics and the everything else kind of episode, so that Mark has more time to get through the last few comics that he wanted to go back through before doing the comic discussion. So, we're still doing the 3 parts, it's just that those last 2 are flipped. So the one we record tomorrow will be like Rise of Skywalker, Resistance, games, etc., 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 that sort of thing. Nothing yet For Cloud City Casino, Michael and I haven't had a chance to record in quite a while at this point. I'm actually not even sure he's through Jedi Fallen Order yet, which was going to be our next topic. So we're kind of hanging out there just waiting for the opportunity to present itself. Of course, the bulk of stuff that I put out has been through YouTube, as is typically the case, and thanks to recording on the 12th, on the 26th, both of those of January, and then finally having at least some time to edit, and then recording more on the 15th of February and having a little bit of time to edit that, but not a chance to really get those ready to go yet. Quite a few videos came out this time around, thankfully. So the biggest stuff, of course, is from the Star Wars Home Video Library, which picked up on January 28th with episode 245, looking at the limited edition Star Wars Trivial Pursuit DVD from Celebration 3. Then we had, from the same celebration, episode 246 with the Sideshow Collectibles promo DVD. Then, again, same day, the 28th, episode 247, Attack of the Jedi, that is LEGO Star Wars The Yoda Chronicles Attack of the Jedi, that never got a US home video release, at least in physical form, on German DVD. It was a LEGO giveaway in Germany. Doing episode 248 with the Clone Wars A Galaxy Divided, this time looking not at the regular version or the Walmart exclusive, but the incredibly elusive Best Buy exclusive, which I've only seen 2 of ever in physical form. One in my collection, one in Justin Reichert's collection. If I said your name right there, Justin. Then we picked up with episode 249, looking at the Blu-ray version, as opposed to the DVD version we'd already looked at, of the fan-made documentary, The Prequels Strike Back, A Fan's Journey. Then episode 250 looked at 2 new releases, or new acquisitions of mine, of Spaceballs, the spoof edition from the UK on DVD, and the recent UK steelbook through Zavvi. Doing episode 251, looking at the 1995 Toys R Us hologram stickers that were used as a bonus if you picked up the THX Remastered Edition in 1995. We had episode 252, looking at Bart Wars, a Simpsons DVD release that is very heavily marketed as a Star Wars parody, even though only one episode in it actually has Star Wars-related content in it. Then 253, The Stars of Star Wars, that old kind of nyeh documentary from back in 1999. Episode 254, a John Williams celebration. DVD and Blu-ray copies of the concert DVD. We had intermission number 9 for the series on February 17th, which took a look at a signed Complete Saga Blu-ray set that I had that's signed by Ray Park, and sort of opened up discussion on the idea of signed home video items. Doing episode 255 on February 21st, looking at the Australian versions of the Heroes, Villains, and Heroes and Villains DVDs, having already looked at the UK versions. And then the most recent episode released as of right now is episode 256, which was the Force Awakens 3D release from Malaysia that had some unusual packaging. And amidst all of that, we also, of course, had 2 episodes that took a very quick look at some new Star Wars Armada products that they finally released. Armada's barely getting any releases at this point, which were the Onager-class Star Destroyer and the Nadiri Starhawk. Those are parts 33 and 34 of the Armada coverage. If you're trying to find that, you can just search my channel for Armada 33, Armada 34. I always number those. So a lot of new video stuff out, which is awesome. I don't know when I'm going to get a chance to record a whole lot more. I got a few recorded right now that aren't edited, like, what on earth is this thing? That I just need to get a chance to edit here, hopefully within the next, few days, next week or so, so that they're out maybe before the end of February. But then, usually I would record tomorrow, Sunday, as of the time I'm recording this. I'd record then because that's an instance in which my wife and my father-in-law would be able to watch Kate. My wife has a shoulder injury that has her restricted in terms of what she can lift. She can't lift him at this point. She can't lift more than, I think it's 2 pounds, because of just how bad the shoulder injury is until she gets surgery. So we typically have to have somebody else here to be able to watch him if I'm going to be in another room for an extended period of time. You won't notice on the recording here, but I'm popping back and forth from room to room every little bit of recording just this one video. Usually that would be my time to record, the video content, or to maybe take more pictures for the book or whatever it might be, but I'm going to use it tomorrow with Mark to record that next episode of Star Wars Beyond the Films. So it'd be at least another week probably before I have the opportunity to actually sit down and record more video-based stuff. By which time, though, hopefully some new Star Wars home video stuff that I picked up through eBay will be trickling in at the time. So we'll have some more stuff to talk about. Some oddball, like little giveaways and stuff like that from back in the day. So, beyond that, speaking of pictures for the book a moment ago, that is where a huge amount of progress has come in. I'm very happy with the progress made in the last month on A Saga on Home Video's second edition, which, again, should be out later this year. Basically, at this point, well, I'll show you here. So I go through a regular copy, my dog-eared, beat-up copy here. So what I did was I went through the whole text, making more editing passes, to try to bring it up to date with the context of when it will be published, as opposed to the context of 2017 when it was originally published and all. And what I've been doing is, after I implement that edit, if there is no extra stuff left on that page that I got to deal with, like, say, replacing a picture, I rip the page out. So lots and lots of pages ripped out at this point. I now have so few pages left that need pictures that were grayscale replaced with new pictures in color that I basically have been able to list those out, taken a lot of quick notes on stuff I want to make sure that I include in the book eventually that just doesn't have a space right now. Counted up the number of pictures in the original book to compare to the second edition. The original book, by the way, had 323 pictures, all grayscale. And I'm just kind of going through and doing all kinds of notes and everything. But this is sort of as this gets smaller, as I'm ripping out pages, I get closer and closer to feeling as though the original content is in solid shape, so I can add more stuff. But I have finally started writing new stuff. So at this point, there's been some changes to the chapter order. For instance, in the original book, the last chapter on just the live-action films was Chapter 7, Enter Disney, 2016-2017, which made sense because the book came out in 2017, covered all the way up through Rogue One. And then Chapter 8 was Droids, Ewoks, and a Guy Named Gindi. Then Rewriting the Clone Wars, then Joining the Rebellion, and so on and so on and so on. So, of course, all those have to be shifted back because the book's first part is all about the live-action films, and we've had more since then. So now there is a new chapter inserted after Enter Disney that plays off of one of the earlier chapters. We had a chapter number 5, which was Rise of DVD, Demise of VHS. We now have one that is Rise of 4K, Demise of 3D. And that is all set for 2018 stuff, so that's Last Jedi, and that is Solo. And then we have one called All Together Now. Where's the reference from? Where's the reference from? Kudos to you if you recognize All Together Now as the title of the final issue of the original Marvel Comics Star Wars series back in 1986. Yeah, kind of obscure. But it's called All Together Now, which I thought made sense because that's the chapter that's going to be about Rise of Skywalker's releases and about the Skywalker Saga set. And because it's covering 2019 and 2020, that's also where Disney Plus enters the picture. That's also where the 2019 McClunky editions enter the picture, and so on. So, got a couple new chapters there. There'll, of course, have to be another chapter at some point for Resistance. If Mandalorian gets any home video releases, there'll be another chapter for that. Clone Wars Season 7, if it gets a home video release by the time the book comes out, that'll just continue on with the Rewriting the Clone Wars chapter. But I've finally been able to just kind of sit down and just hammer away at writing new content for both of those two new chapters. The one for Last Jedi and Solo, and the one for Rise of Skywalker and Skywalker Saga. And what I tend to do is I'll write what I can remember off the top of my head very easily. And then when I do the next editing pass on it, that's when I'll come in here and start grabbing stuff off the shelves and double checking my information, adding more detail, or going to my own episodes that I did for this show, or I guess on this channel from the Star Wars Home Video Library, to try to make sure that my information is correct. I also have to go through all those previous episodes and look at the thanks at the end of each one to make sure that everybody who has helped me collection-wise that have been thanked on the show get thanked in the book as well. So a lot of feeling like I'm really kind of being productive there. A whole lot of little tiny edits made here and there. Even some stuff that's a little more sweeping. Like I've finally been convinced that I should start referring to Betamax just as Beta, since Betamax is actually just the Sony version of Beta. Going through and just doing little tweaks here and there. The next big step, though, after getting those two new chapters written, and then writing a chapter for Resistance, so a third new chapter, will be going in and starting to add stuff into everything else. Like, for instance, going into the Clone Wars chapter, the Droids, Ewoks, and a Guy Named Gindi chapter, and going to the Gindi part of it, right, the Clone Wars micro-series, and adding in stuff about those other, lightsaber stuff. Not necessarily these. Those will go in the rewriting the Clone Wars chapter. But the ones you can't see that are on the top of these shelves, which are all of those bonus lightsaber action DVD products. So lots of stuff still to insert. I'm nowhere near done, but one major hurdle, which was getting all the old pictures replaced by new pictures, is almost done. I'm hoping to have that done maybe by the end of March or the end of my spring break, which is the first full week of April. And writing has begun for 2 new chapters so far, which is another big hurdle to get me to feel like I'm at a point where I can start writing again. And I have been able to do that because I can just kind of do that at night while everybody's falling asleep or whatever. I just open it up on my computer in our bedroom. It's got a big enough monitor that I can have multiple pages up at once and kind of see how things are lining up informationally, and it's working out well. One of the most recent things I wrote was about the September 2019 reissue debacle and the Walmart exclusives that followed. It is a small section of the chapter, let's see, which chapter? I guess it's a small section of the All Together Now chapter, which is entitled Stealth and Stupidity 2019. I think that captures it well. We also have I also had an opportunity to make another Babylon 5 reference that when it starts introducing the idea of the 4K releases, starting with Last Jedi, one of the small little headings is, but in 4K, I'm stunning. Which, if you're a Babylon 5 fan, should ring true to you for Lando Malari. Long live Emperor Malari, right? Amazing, amazing character, and Jurassic knocked it out of the park. I actually saw Jurassic recently on, I was rewatching the old 1980s cop show, Hill Street Blues, and it was weird seeing Peter Jurassic as this informant, sleazy guy, season after season after season. But I digress, as I often do. So, the book is in really good shape and continuing forward. Nothing done with Wars yet, which I need to get on once I finally feel like I can sit down and get some fiction out. But I don't feel like I'm in the right headspace for that just yet. So, focusing in on the home video stuff, and hopefully in the very near future, there will be more to report home video-wise. And of course, when we get to March 31st, there's the big flood in the US of all the home video stuff, so that within about the next week or two after that, once everything has arrived in the mail, or that I've done store pickups for and everything, we'll have episodes on that. And then we'll have episodes on the stuff from the UK, and we'll have episodes on the stuff from South Korea, if they ever put up the freaking pre-orders, and so on and so on. So, obviously, there's a lot of home video stuff coming soon, but there's still more stuff on the way, still some stuff for me to edit. We got more Beyond the Films coming soon, more Patreon commentaries going up, so the content continues to roll out. I'm very happy we finally had a month that really kind of feels like it was super productive after so many months that were not. Hopefully we'll see the same thing coming up in the next month as we get towards the end of March, and then the following month as we get towards the end of April, because April has my spring break in it, thank goodness. With that, though, we'll wrap up this project update. I hope you're going to find this stuff interesting if you haven't checked out the stuff that is out there, so that now you know some more stuff to check out. And I hope you'll stick around to catch that new content that's coming soon that I've mentioned, especially a Saga on Home Video 2nd edition, hopefully sometime later this year. I will make sure to keep you guys up to date with any further updates within these monthly videos. Thanks for your interest. May the Force be with you, since so many of you are Star Wars fans as well, I'm sure. And yeah, have a good end to your February here. And hey, happy birthday to one of my stepsisters who was born on February 29th, who actually gets to have a birthday this year. Good for leap years.